said, I gotta get boogie because I'm about to get on a plane myself. But I have really enjoyed the start of this one, the heart to start. No pun intended there. It is. I love how he calls it at the beginning. Like, if you're ready to start, just put the book down. It's like, well, halfway tempted, but no, that's not the point of book club. No, it's. I think he does. He's a very good writer. Like, it just in a combination of both the listening and the reading along to get through this first part of it. It I love it was such a good reminder as we just read one of Ryan Holiday's books, not Ego's Enemy. We'd read that one before, but such a good reminder of how your ego truly is your enemy and gets in the way of you starting so many other things for quite literally nonsensical reasons of, oh, are people going to like it? Or, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Or, who cares? Check that ego, get it out of the way, make it happen, and move forward. And I just like that as far as I take away a good reminder of that one. And, just as he's talking about his struggles, as he's going in, going to Silicon Valley, living this beige lifestyle where not at all what he had dreamed up and expected. And how he got there was just listening to everybody else along the way of following instructions, listening to directions, just doing exactly. And what did it lead him? A beige life. And I knew exactly there's been different times where it's like, oh, geez, yeah, what is this what I envisioned or imagined? And so there was some self reflection there as I was looking back, like through the years. I remember that distinctly. I remember it was a conversation I had with my dad when we were out at our cabin one day, and it was just I feel like I'm in a rut. And this was when I was in my sophomore year of college, where I was just like, it's always the same. It's like I have no idea where I'm going, what I'm doing, anything there. And he's like, just stay the course. I promise you'll get out of it. Just find what you enjoy. It will come. And so I think it reminded me of that conversation there. But I just think how important and how great this lesson's from this one to ultimately, yes, just start. You've got something you find you want to do it. It's okay to stop. Who cares what other people think? You really get this one shot at life. So enjoy whatever you're doing. Find it, seize it. Don't live that beige life. So those were my takeaways out of this first part of the book so far.
Awesome. I could jump in on this as well. So I agree with you, Chris. So I wrote down a couple different things here that like kind of stuck out to me for in terms of the quotes and what he kind of like uses them for towards. But I think like really when he kicks it off talking about the big visions that often prevent small beginnings. So he says, we dream of building a fortress when we should be starting with a cottage. So like taking on more, bigger things than you really can chew. And he calls it the fortress fallacy. So I thought that was a good way to put it. But what he says is the problem is psychological scale. And then when the mind compares the massive vision to the tiny first step, the gap feels overwhelming. The result is delay. And I think that we can really relate that to, well, a lot of us can relate that to LifeWave, right? So you see that a lot with people and their business. And I think with any business, really. My parents used to own a small business a long time ago, and I used to watch them do it. And every time I'm reading these things about like, kicking off a business, I immediately think of them. And then my ex and I used to own an insurance agency for a couple of years, and that was also something I related to. And I think about all these things that we were either too afraid to do, or or we thought bigger than we probably should be at the moment. So these were kind of hitting home with that. He says the creation is how people discover who they really are, which I mean I've always lived by that too. But he says the only way to become your true self is to find the art inside you and make it real. And what I really like about how he says it is he says that art is anything you create that reflects your thinking, your curiosity, or your worldview. So realistically, you can just say, if there anybody like kind of goes against what you're saying, you'd be like, well, that's my art. I just created my art. So just back up for a second. So I have a lot of my own art. So I think that was a good way to look at it too, because people don't always see exactly what you see. So they always say art is the eye of the beholder, right? So it kind of can be true for your business as well. And then just two other ones that I really liked. So um, perfectionism is a sophisticated form of procrastination. So he says if we never get started, we never get good. So it's really true, right? If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't jump in and really get your hands dirty, then you don't really know what you're going to mess up on number one, and you're never going to get better because you're making mistakes. So he says that perfectionism often disguises itself as professionalism, But in reality, they are protecting themselves from criticism. So I thought that was really interesting. So you're really just kind of protecting an ego, if you will, to make sure that nobody wants to get their ego hurt. So if it's not successful, if it doesn't go the way you want it off the bat, then you create this delay and you just start procrastinating and procrastinating. So I fell into that in the past. So it's something I really focus on as I've gotten more mindful of what I want my business to look like or whatever I'm doing at the time. And that kind of goes into the ego discussion that he has later on in the book, which I thought was really good because he says that procrastination is rarely about laziness, it's about protection, which, again, as you think about it, it's pretty true when you start to think about why we are procrastinating these certain things. And then, like I said, the last one here, innovation comes from combining unique curiosities. He says, chances are you're the best in the world at your particular combination of curiosities and that entrepreneurs who embrace their unusual mix of interests often discover that the combination itself becomes their advantage. So again, using instead of saying that or using having your unique abilities kind of used against you, instead of embrace that, and that's what actually will make you even better. So I think we hear that a lot today, in my opinion. So I think that most of us embrace that, but it is hard to do when you're looking at the what is shown to you every day, social media, or what you think is being successful, what people show you versus what's reality. So those I do like this book as well. I think that most of the books that we're reading, in my opinion, are just small reminders of the things that we already know. It's just a way of like thinking about it differently. So I really like the way that I liked our recent lineup of these books that we've had. I think it's been a good mix of things. So that's where I'm at right now.
I even I even thought about the part where he was like saying that he was looking at himself in the mirror for too long and he couldn't recognize himself. He always thought his eyes were more brown. Now he's looking at them, they're green or whatever the case
Right.
was. It actually reminded me of the when Mitch first went to go see Maury in the last book and he was like, well, how's everything? And he's kind of like, man, like, what can I tell him? Like, I want to say I'm successful in all these things, but I feel very like bland or whatever in my life. And it reminded me of that scene or of that part of Tuesdays with Maury. Um, like to Chris's point, when I first heard the whole like, oh, just close this book if you don't need it or whatever, I giggled a little bit because I actually thought about that like right before he said it. So I was like, okay, let me stop. Like I probably need to hear this. And the whole procrastination thing, I keep doing it because I keep getting away with it. Like, I'm like, oh, I can do it. I can do it in 2 days when I've had like 2 months to do it or whatever. And the way that they put it, like, oh, it's just a form of protection, yes, I get that, but then I had to kind of dig in myself, like, okay, what am I trying to protect myself from? Like the workload, the like, what is it, right? About the me trying to procrastinate or whatever the case is that I'm trying to protect myself from. I couldn't like really put my finger on it, but it did make me question that because that does make sense to me. Like, oh, I'm just trying to protect something. I also highlighted this, which I thought was super cool. No matter who you are, this was him quoting somebody else, not even his own words, but it was someone he had on his podcast. No matter who you are, you really are the only person with that voice. And I love that because even like how you said, Justin, nobody can do you how you do you. You can, he even said an example about how, you could switch out an operations manager or a regional operations manager for a different regional operation manager because everyone has like the same bye, Chris. Take care. Um, Everyone has kind of the same degrees or education or whatever the case is. But no, even you can do what I do. I mean, or we can have the same title, but I will never do it the way you do it. You will never do it the way I do it. Like it's just one of those things that, again, your specific lineup of how you think, how you are, however you were raised, and those kind of beliefs that really make it a unique experience for you and for me, or whatever the case is. The whole book kind of reminded me, especially the whole being like afraid to start. It reminded me of 7 years ago when I first left my job to come to this job, right? First of all, I have been thinking about it for 3 years before I even did it. And I was like, I need to go, I need to go, I need to go. And I would just never do it for what? I was scared. Oh, am I going to find a better job? I was comfortable where I was at. I was calling the shots where I was at. I was like, I got to start over somewhere else. And then I finally did it. I took a huge pay cut and I was like, I'm just going to do it because I need to feel fulfilled in myself, which is one of the things that he said towards the beginning of the book, where he was like, man, if I die right now, I feel fulfilled. I literally have a form of art that is outside of me, that lives outside of me. And I even wrote it on the margin, like it lives on, like his art will live on when he's not here. And he even addressed that a little later when he said, like, it may not be a successful book. I'm nobody might read it or whatever, but it's outside of me now and I feel fulfilled. And that's the feeling I wanted to have back then. And then I found Jay, and here we are 7 years later, roller coaster ride, and it's been an amazing. No matter, and when I think back of how terrifying that was, of leaving the job that I was already at over there for 7 years, like how terrifying it was to take this step. There's no way I could have been still there right now. Um, what else? I have here, I highlighted here, instead of spending our time and energy on tasks that can be automated, this is him. And I think this book came out in 2017, which is funny. He was already talking about AI in this one because I don't really remember a lot of AI things in 2017. But he said, instead of spending our time and energy on tasks that can be automated, we can reconnect with our humanity. Our humanity is what makes us all artists. And this was him addressing the fact that people were freaking out about how AI was basically taking over or whatever. And I feel like if that was happening in 2017, that feeling is still alive today. And this is him reassuring us, like, hey, this is a good thing. Let the automatic things be automatic and like reconnect with yourself. I need to do that because I depend way too much on ChatGPT and all the bots for everything. So I feel like, okay, I need to do something about that for myself. Um, and then the last thing he just said was, or the last thing I'll comment on is, I just highlight internal chatter is powerful, because we're all so practiced in obeying its fears that most of us never notice it. To find the heart to start, you need to listen to that chatter, not to heed its advice, but to tell it why it's dead wrong. And I love that. That comes back to the whole internal struggle of how we all speak to each other in a negative way, and how your brain doesn't know that you're kidding. It just believes what you tell it. So we need to tell it, like, you're wrong and I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. So I'm loving this book. It's really short, but I like that it's short.
Uh, well, I agree with almost everything that everyone has said so far. But for me, because I'm learning a new career, what he said right in the beginning of the book, if you believe you can learn, you can. And so that just struck a chord with me, and I'm happy that I decided to join this book club.
Awesome. Welcome.
Hey, this is Darren. I'll jump in. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my camera. Ironically, had a hard time starting this book, um, and I'm listening, and I will say not the best speaking voice, but I've enjoyed it. It is different, and at first, as I asked you, well, wait, is this the right book? It's talking about art, and I wasn't, just wanted to make sure I saw that right. But again, with every book we have, I think it's you can pull something from it in the very beginning. If you guys already started, and you don't need to be listening. But I think his message, I'm still pretty early on, is and again, I learn by examples, or that's what sticks with me. We're talking about other people who gone down the path, whatever projects. So I'm enjoying the way he's weaving in, both somewhat current and past, kind of what we would see as masters in their craft. So again, little bit of a different vibe, most certainly a different audio presentation, but I am enjoying. It's kind of a different than what we've read recently. So I'm enjoying it. I'm curious to see where it goes at the end.
All right, I guess I will go. So first off, I want to say, if I am interrupted, I have two crazy puppies, so I might have to mute and like let you guys continue. I have an 8-month-old German Shepherd female who is kind of a bitch right now. Just gonna be honest. So, just a little background on me. I'm chiming in from Minnesota. I own my own business, as well as I'm good friends with Arlene. We went to the conference together in October, and so we are super chummy and we keep each other motivated. And Justin, I met you last year at Destin, and you were all over the place running that show and did a great job. And I missed this year, but I'm sure it's just as amazing. So when I did this book, I did it through audio because I feel like, well, one, I have not read a fiction book in years. I left a book club because I felt like I wasn't getting anything out of it. You read a fiction book and you're like, yada, yada, but for me, self-help improvement books have kind of been my jam, but I find that they're very textbook-ish, where I like to highlight and tab, and then I get kind of sucked into it almost feeling like homework. And so when I find I'm reading in bed, kind of like as I'm coming down for the evening, I don't absorb as much. So then I decided to go audio, and I was like sitting in a chair and then at the same time doing my notes on my phone. And so I'm just going to kind of go through sections or by chapter. Since I had audio, what chapter does 75 pages go through? Can you guys?
Chapter 8.
Through chapter 8. Okay. So I just kind of, whenever something just like when you guys said something just kind of spoke to you. So let's see. I like we build kinetic energy. So, it's kind of like once you get in motion, you stay in motion, you get excited about the energy you're creating and building. And we can harness our own energy. And another thing in chapter 1 that spoke to me was know what forces hold you back. And I know what they are. And my brain keeps speaking to me like, don't do it. You're going to look stupid, or people are going to watch you fail. And because I failed before, we've all failed before, right? And it's always good to have a cheerleader and a team behind you to support you. In chapter 2, let's see, will I embarrass myself? That's definitely very real to me. Listening to the chatter, listen to that chatter, but don't heed its advice. So just because you're telling yourself, don't go to the gym, just sleep in, that you're going to be better for it once you get up, or once you call that person that you're nervous about calling. It's always builds up in your brain that it's bigger than it really is until you do it. Like any big problem, right? Like confronting a problem at home, you're like, oh, he's going to be so mad when I say it. And then you dread about it all day. And then it happens. You're like, why did I waste my whole energy and my day? And it turned out completely different, right? Let's see. I like the part about the ego. I was a little I didn't think ego was kind of defined that way. So that was something I learned too, that your ego actually keeps you from kind of taking steps that you might be embarrassed about and whatnot. Let's see, comes up with excuses not to start, for sure. Let's see, curiosity first. Time and distracted and scared, definitely. Many people have the same thoughts. I like the idea in chapter 5 where it said many people have the same thoughts and ideas, but they just don't pursue it. Like an idea, like whether it's an invention or something that was interesting, that 2 different people invented the light bulb. I didn't know that, but only one person I feel gets credit for it. Let's see. Real courage is when you know you're licked before you begin. I like that quote. So knowing that this is going to be difficult, but I'm going to keep driving on, and you're going to feel so much stronger and better on the other side of that. Let's see. I like the part also in chapter 8 about dreaming. So accomplish great things, you must dream as well as act. So I feel like I'm very much in a dreamy state and a preparation state, over training, over reading. Even in my own business, I'm always learning new things. And then I feel like I need to simplify it a little bit and just get into action. So those are my takeaways, friends.
I think I'm the last person, right? Yeah, okay. Oh, are you ready for it? Okay. I taking notes. Okay. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, so I have my audio thing. I mark and I put all the things in my ADHD way, so it's kind of crazy, okay? In the beginning, when it starts out about the art, like that everybody has something special to offer the world. but we're put in this sort of, I mean, not to get kind of weird, but like we're put in a school system that basically takes it out of you, right? That's how I feel. So generally we're not really encouraged to like be ourselves in school. You got to sit there, shut up, do the thing, listen to the teacher, and you kind of lose yourself. So I feel like we've had decades, like all of us, decades of mental programming is in the book. Like it talks about that we have to undo it to actually be entrepreneurial, because schools are designed for not entrepreneurs. It's an employee mindset in schools. So we as entrepreneurs, we have to unprogram ourselves from what we were taught. So that's been really interesting, like that sort of epiphany. And I also like, there was a part where he talked about that the author never considered doing anything other than what he was told. And that's the same for me. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got to like grade 11 and 12. And my dad was just like, well, you could be a nurse or a teacher. And I'm like, ugh, right? In the end, I went and I became a hairdresser. It didn't work. So let me see. Another takeaway I got, which is huge, which has been helping procrastinators like myself, is to make sure you put on a calendar. So I'm old fashioned. I have an old fashioned calendar on my wall. I'm learning to go the J way of talking into the phone. It's a huge megalithic step for me to talk to the computer and trust it too. Let me see. But in this business model, like if your calendar is blank, that's truly reflected in your business. So I like to fill it up, and I have conversations all the time. So let me see. Another takeaway I thought was really interesting was the linear work distortion that we all have when you're, this again is from schooling. You're trained that success is from this, and it works like this. And then in life, because life always throws wrenches, we don't know what to do. And then you get stuck going, a lot. They never taught me this. Life throws a wrench. What do we do here? Right. So we have like preconceived expectations. And, you know, everybody here, if you're in this business model, it's like we're all entrepreneurs. So this is where the retraining comes from. I really like all the books we're reading too. I really love this is me jumping ahead. No, I won't jump ahead. Well, it was a section where it was talking about permission to suck. Did you guys get to that part? No?
No,
Oh, you did?
not yet. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Not talking about that. Talk about that next week. Delighting in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admitting the changes it's gone through to achieve the beauty. That's like business. That's Maya Angelou. And it's like, you know, that entrepreneur iceberg underneath. You got the successful people at the top here, and they make it look so easy, but it's all the stuff below, all the years of whatever. I feel like it's kind of what I have expectations when I've come out, like, well, I should be successful now because I hit this age. I should be my expectation. So I must be a failure. And then that kind of eats at you. So I have to get rid of that nonsense. And the other thing about the beige life that you talked about, Justin, like, I really like that part too, because I feel like a lot of the world lives in beige. And I feel like entrepreneurs do think differently. And I really believe that's because we only use that subconscious part of our brain is what we default back to because it's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. So to be actually consciously aware to recognize that, oh, this is my ego talking. I need to turn that off and move forward. Otherwise, I'm going to stay in this comfort zone and go nowhere. Right. Let me see. Yeah. So, and that the section where he talked about the mere act of making your art leads to surprising self-discoveries. And I've had that with hairdressing, oftentimes just doing it and hoping for the best kind of thing. And then it's like, oh, that actually worked better. I find that it's in entrepreneurial land too. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. The ego section was really huge for me. I come from a family that's got some seriously hardcore, crazy ego issues. So reading about the ego and talking about how it's like a shell, because Darren, you're saying I need like analogies. The analogy for me was think of ego as the shell that covers up the self for protection. So it's like if you are doing anything that's uncomfortable or getting out of your comfort zone, it's going to cover you up to prevent you from getting hurt. And so I find, especially because I deal with narcissists in my life, it's very evident that they just don't want to get any more hurt than they are. But we all have that in ourselves. So the takeaway at the end is to make sure that you build the skill of recognizing when the ego takes over and fix it when it does take over, because we always default. and want to avoid that rejection, judgment, heartbreak, discomfort. So lastly, Justin's like, oh my God, Arlene, is stop looking for outside approval by living according to a definition of success created by others. That is what I really need to work on, because you just have things that you thought as a kid that I should be here already. Like I should have attained XYZ. It's like, who says, right? When you look at the real entrepreneurs that are out there, when you hear these stories of Martha Stewart started late, this person started late, Kentucky Fried Chicken guy, whatever, it's like we all have our journey. And so I'm really grateful for being in this kind of group and just witnessing the journeys that we're all taking, because they're all so different, but it's kind of fun to witness. So that's my long-winded share.
I just want to say one thing about the ego part really quick. I think he even said it somewhere in there that he himself has those days where he feels like his ego's there, but he can see that it's a long way from where he came from. So that's not to say that just because you recognize that you're never going to do it, you're going to do it. He either said you either be the bully or like the person, talking down to someone, or the person like beating yourself over it, or whatever the case was. But it's not that you're never going to do it. It's just to get as far away from that as possible. And then the last thing that I randomly remembered, that I don't think anyone has said yet, when he said the whole Helen Keller part, and when he was talking about like I was in the library and I just wanted to jump around and throw the books and stuff like that. And then he said that the only reason he was thinking that was because his true self was unfulfilled. His true self was bored and angry and like, what am I doing stuck here in your head, basically? Or that's how I imagined it when he was saying the story. Like, I'm bored, let me out, like, let me flourish. And that's what, like, his, example of Helen Keller and him at the library thinking that he wanted to like destroy the place was like. And then what you said, Arlene, about how kids are kind of tamed over time, they're like that, right? He even said it somewhere in the book that he like whenever we daydream and they're like, hey, snap out of it, like be here, be present, they snap you out of connecting with your true self very young. Because I agree with you, Arlene. I totally agree. Um, it just reminded me of that part, and to tell you guys and myself that when you are thinking those crazy or like daydreaming thoughts, he even said write it down, like whatever it is, because there's so many ideas. I'm like, man, I thought about it 3 years ago, and now there's a guy making so much money off of it. Like, why didn't I do it or whatever? Because I never wrote it down, because I thought about it once, never did anything about it again, like whatever the case is. And maybe if I had, would I have gone the extra mile that that person obviously did,
So you
So
can't watch Shark Tank, you know?
literally. Yes, that's why I see on Shark Tank. I'm like, oh my God, I literally thought that. But yeah, I loved that image in my mind that he put about the whole jumping around the library and everything. So I'm liking it. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm like on chapter 6. I'm supposed to be on 8, but I'm there. I think that was everybody. So next week, because it is such a short book, next week we'll just finish it off.
Yeah.
The one after that, I don't have it up in my face right here, but we can
Is
put
it the
it on.
fine art of small talk? I was just looking at our chat.
Okay, yes, I think it's that one. Obviously I'm logged out of Facebook. Usually I
I
have it
could put
on.
it in I'll put it in the chat for everybody.
Okay, so that will be the next one. I know it feels like, and I just wanted to address this because there's, Team Lang, Sally, there's people that are new in the book club and they feel like we go so fast. Yes, I guess it feels like we go fast. This book in particular is short, so it obviously it's fast. But because we're reading the 15 pages, right? Like if you're reading the 15 pages and even if you're a little behind, you catch yourself up. Um, I think 15 pages allows you to process the information enough to not feel like it's going super, super fast. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I had a friend that would join the book club a long time ago. She was like, you guys are going too fast. I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm like, it's because you're behind and you feel like, this is too much. And now I have to catch up from the 75 pages. I have to catch up 105. It's because you're not doing your daily reading. So yes, the next book is The Fine Art of Small Talk by Debra Fine. And the one after that is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. So those will be the next two after this one, and we'll wrap this one up next week.
And what's good about the group is that, if we are a little bit behind, there's no pressure to feel like you're gonna get in trouble because you're a little bit behind. So just FYI.
Yeah. All right, guys. This was fun. I will see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a good week.